Welcome to the video, guys. Just a quick one here, but another day, another bunch of Ramoners trying to use the current human malware situation in order to delay Brexit, with an Economist this time taking them to task for trying to use the current situation as a way to delay Brexit, like I said, along with pointing out the fact that a no-deal Brexit is not going to be as bad as the Ramoners thought, even with the current situation going on and the effects to the economy that it will have. With the Express running an article, Brexit Fury, economists accuse Remainers of using human malware to thwart trade talks, which is something I have done a few videos on recently, and we know what these Ramoners are like. They will use absolutely anything they could. And I wonder how long it will be before they blame Brexit for this or for something related to it. Brexit trade talks have been stalled, as we all know, but one economist believes the deadline should not be extended, while also hitting out at Remain camps who he believes are using the pandemic as an excuse to delay talks. Which I think you'll find they are, and so might the European Union. It's not just Remain camps as he calls them, it's the European Commission also. But as me and my viewers will already know and probably are already screaming at the screen right now, we can just leave on WTO terms. We don't even need to take part in these trade talks. Because if we say, you know what, given the situation, we're just going to leave on WTO terms, I'm pretty sure the EU would come running to us and give us pretty much whatever we wanted, of course within reason. Because they will need a trade deal with us a lot more than we need one with them, even more so now. You have to remember, before this situation and the economic crisis that it's going to create, the EU still needed us a lot more than we need them. Given the situation they're in now, not even able to get their budget through, and of course what's happening in Italy and other EU countries, they are really going to need a trade deal with the United Kingdom, of that I am sure. Not only have Brexit talks been stalled, but negotiators on both sides of the English Channel have been directly impacted by the human malware situation. The EU's chief negotiator Michel Barnier tested positive last week, as we know, while David Frost, our negotiator, is in self-isolation. Despite this, economist Julian Jessup believes Brexit trade negotiations can still be finalised by the end of December this year, amid calls for an extension to the deadline and transition period, which, like I said earlier, I've covered a couple of times before, and said then, as I will say now, it cannot happen. There must be no extension to the deadline or transition period. He added that some opponents to Brexit only want an extension to delay the negotiations' progress. He said, it does feel like people are looking for excuses, which they are. There is still an enormous continuity of Remain camps which don't want Brexit to happen and will look for every single excuse. Yeah, AC Grayling, Owen Jones and the rest of those Ramoners there fit right into that category. It feels like a poor one, that you can't do lots of things by video conferencing and email. Everybody else is expected to work from home. Why can't EU negotiators? And I would have to make you right there. It's a very good point, that is. EU and UK governments are telling us to work from home, so they can all work from home and get Brexit done from there. It's not like we don't have the technology to do it. And like I said, we can just leave on no deal. Screw the EU. I'm still sceptical. I understand why people are saying Brexit talks are an additional hassle they could do without. But I'm also concerned people are using this as an excuse to delay or cancel something they didn't want to do anyway. Which is once again 100% correct. These people running around screaming about delaying Brexit are the ones who didn't want it to happen. You will notice a lot of these calls are coming from Ramoning outlets like the BBC, Sky News, The Guardian, Independent and so on. Mr Jessup points to a YouGov survey which found 55% of people now support an extension to the December 31st deadline, with nearly a quarter still opposed and 21% saying they don't know. Now, how many of my viewers were actually polled in that? Because I do question some of these polls that YouGov put out, even though they are sometimes correct. It always boils down to the people they asked and usually the person who commissioned it, because usually they give them a sample size of subjects to take the poll from. Mr Jessup added, I've always been sceptical of people saying this is going to be terribly difficult and it will take ages and the deadline is too tight. I'm not really sure it is. No, neither am I. I think we can do a fairly straightforward trade deal with no tariffs and no quotas fairly quickly. It's not obvious to me that we need to extend the deadline. It's not obvious to me, and as a matter of fact, it would be a complete betrayal of everyone who voted for Boris Johnson at the last election. Work still needs to be done, and people can't meet in person, but I'm not convinced there is a compelling case to extend the transition period. Mr Jessup also argues that fears suggesting a no-deal Brexit would be disastrous to the British economy may not be true. He believes the UK has prepared for this eventuality, and therefore its economy would survive the disruption. He said, I think those people who do want to extend the transition period are thinking that if we leave without a deal, it will be a massive blow to the economy, as we heard in Project Fear Mark 1 and 2 before the election, claiming if we left the economy would go to shit, which, to be honest, is likely to happen now anyway, and it's got nothing to do with a no-deal Brexit. With even, as I reported just the other day, a no-deal Brexit and the preparations for it actually helped the government deal with this situation that we find ourselves in now. He continued, I would question that as well. We have a lot of stuff in place already that would stop the economy from being wrecked, which I just mentioned only moments ago in the preparations for a no-deal Brexit or WTO Brexit. I still think you can do a bare bones trade deal, but I completely get why people think, why would you want Brexit talks on top of everything else? Yeah, we just leave with WTO terms. I've said it 100 times. Chief Executive of the European Policy Centre, Fabian Zulig, has argued that an extension must be taken. Yeah, well, of course he has. He said the actions of the UK government in the coming weeks will demonstrate whether Boris Johnson is able to act as a statesman, recognising that in the current circumstances, an extension to the transition period is the only way forward, regardless of his long-term intentions for the UK-EU relationship. And I have to say, coming from someone at the European Policy Centre, that holds absolutely zero weight and just proves what this article is about. To willingly and deliberately cause another economic shock in such a crisis moment would be reckless. No, to remain part of the EU in such a crisis would be more reckless, because then we'll be liable to help them bail out their countries when this is all over. Get us out of the EU, we ain't paying for everyone else. We're going to have to help the people and businesses of the UK, never mind any of the EU nations. Perhaps they should all leave the EU and just take care of themselves, because the bailout for this is going to be huge, as was reported in a story I covered the other day. We do not want any part of bailing out the European banks, that is for sure. Now before I go, I've started doing live streams and uploading gaming content on my second channel. If you would like to come and join me for a live stream to chat in real time, have an interest in gaming related content on YouTube, or just want to follow me over there because you are a legend, the link will be down in the video description below and as a pinned comment. I hope to see you all there. Now as always, before I go, I want to thank our PayPal, Patreon, Subscribestar and YouTube members for supporting the channel, along with everyone who watches my videos. Remember to let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Leave a like, subscribe with the notification bell and share this video as it helps the channel a lot, and I will see you all in the next one.
There is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors, slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires, and that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going, and we are glad to be going. We're off.